Okay, you're on.
So we need to encourage our friends as we tread the path of service, especially when they encounter difficulties. Say a few words about the way Monica encouraged Rodrigo in the story that you just finished reading with both words and deeds. Okay, so I know some people had a chance to read ahead. Maybe they can share what they put down.
Plan A didn't work out, so she turned it into Plan B. Sometimes mine goes up to F and G during the day, but you have to be flexible.
Okay, so flexibility. Anything else? Wrote.
I wrote her realization that things don't always unfold as expected, and her delight in seeing Juju helps quell any disappointment. Her suggestion to meet parents helps them to determine a new path to success. Her sharing with confidence impresses the mother, leading to trust and a willingness to help.
Goes back to those home visits that we mentioned earlier. Okay. So
Making lemonade out of lemons. And that's the way life is.
that's right. There's read number 2.
Encouragement is effective when one is open to receive it. Rodrigo, for example, was able to put aside his disappointment quickly and contribute to a joyful conversation with Paula and Roxana. What attitudes are necessary if we are to transcend the disappointment we will inevitably face in the path of service?
So, any ideas?
Well, maybe have a little bit of detachment, a little bit of trust and flexibility, and attitude of humility and love. Again,
Anything else to add?
I looked at question number 1 as a question of what supplied the motivational energy, and number 2, what sustains that motivational energy.
The road to the goal is not always a straight unencumbered line. And I think that's flexibility again.
I think we should also be aware that small accomplishments can be as big ones.
Yeah.
Probably all of these points will also be answered. Marlena, can you read number 3?
Can you make a specific hole in the above story, going value specific occurrences and focusing on spiritual relic and potential growth about joy and motivation to service?
Make explicit. So,
As they persevered, they saw the fruits begin to ripen. Joy resulted as they continued, and they remained motivated due to their belief that their service was invaluable.
I had just put crisis and victory go hand in hand, and it's good for us to remember that.
Marcia.
Christy, number 4.
The story we have recounted is about the formation of a junior year group, but it does not represent the only way such a group can be formed. In the diversity of circumstances that exist in the world, there must also be various approaches to the establishment of a class for the spiritual education of children and to the creation of a study circle. In section 6, you carried out some exercises in which you explored how you would assist an individual who wished to establish one of these three activities in different situations. As our story has unfolded, it has become clear that beyond the initial steps taken to meet people, a great deal of effort is required to consolidate any one of the three activities. Your own experience, no doubt, confirms this. You may find it helpful then to discuss in your group the various experiences with which you are familiar in establishing the following activities on a solid foundation: a children's class, a junior youth group, and a study circle.
Do we want to talk about this then? People have an idea, maybe some experience that they'd like to share. Could be experiences that didn't work, because those are good to show and for us to learn from, right?
When I was looking at that, I was looking at my own experience, and I was looking at the body of the story on page 24 as being a model to follow.
Mhm.
At the top of the page, what should we do now was indicative of knowledge that we need in order to accomplish something. Sees with enthusiasm the motivational energy that you need in order to carry whatever you decide out. Building the foundation for trust. In other words, tells Rodrigo about recent training courses in which he participated. Monica describes the group that she is serving and how it was formed. We're looking at prototyping. She comes to trust two people, more power to achieve, more power to create. Being reinforced with motivational energy, proceeds with eagerness and joy. Not all parents are welcoming and encouraging, as Mrs. Ramirez, the need for a model, something that you have already existing that you can use to showcase so that other people can judge. And then in terms of the needing for a personal champion to actually provide that force of movement, the assistance rendered by Mrs. Ramirez, particularly her long conversation with Sergio's mother, in whose home the group is to meet. Somebody that is recognized as a champion that's going to promote that idea and serve as the motivational energy. And I'm looking at these are just common organizational management skills translated into this story of this youth group. So whether it be children's classes, junior youth groups, study circles, it's still the same process.
Very nice summary, thank you. Anybody have anything else to add?
In the story, Monica and Rodrigo talk about Baha'i-inspired educational materials. Discuss in your group what this concept means to you. How does an adequate understanding of it help us in widening the scope of our conversation with parents, school administrators, teachers, and other members of the community?
So Baha'i-inspired educational materials, you're holding an example of it, okay? This is a Baha'i-inspired educational material. There are how many junior youth books?
That's 6.
6 different junior youth books that you can share, workbooks that you share with the participants who are of junior youth age. There are about 6 different children age groups. I haven't seen them all myself, but I think
Reading books for lesson plans.
for lesson plans, working with children. There are 3, I thought maybe more, but anyway, there's about 3 different, so these are educational materials. There's study circle educational materials. I've never seen that are being currently developed and used in other parts of the world that we've never seen. And so that's what's, when we're talking about these Baha'i-inspired educational materials, I think that that's what this question is getting at. Yeah.
So from the story, it seemed like the conversation, the fact that they talked about the materials as being Baha'i inspired allowed them to have a conversation with this father who didn't know about the Baha'i faith, had questions. So that could be one way in which it widens the conversation. Is that the way other people took that?
I think of it as, we've gone door to door in the neighborhoods trying to start children's classes. When we get to the door, if you have information about what materials you're going to use and you can comfortably and confidently talk about that, people are willing to listen. If you don't have confidence, because you don't have that knowledge, you can't explain it to them. You have your little script and you can read your script and then they ask questions like, I don't know what to say, right? And same thing is true in sales. Ask Jules, right? When you know your product, whatever that product is, and you can speak with confidence, then you can engage in the conversation. And I think that's what this is referring to, that we need to be familiar with these educational materials. If you're going to teach children's classes, you don't start the class until you've actually read some of those materials and have an idea of what you're doing. Susie and I just planned a children's session at Sylvania Area Family Services, and we went through the materials and we submitted a proposal based on what we'll do for the first 2 lessons. It's easy to talk to them because we have that confidence, because we know what we're going to do. I think that's what this is about.
Well, your children's classes, they start out within the community. I mean, people that you can't have a children's class and, you know, somebody that doesn't know about Baha'i faith or, you know, it's not like you knock on somebody's door and just present the Baha'i faith and somebody just and never even doesn't know anything of Baha'i and have a children's class. Your children's class, I feel would be coming, you know, is already would be taught within the community, you know, and it's through communication with the adults, you know, speaking, or, you know, through a neighbor or something, and doing service and mentioning the Baha'i faith and the curiosity of the Baha'i, and that's how I think this chain reaction would happen. But I mean, I'm looking at this and it's like, you know, here we're doing a children's class and I just can't see, like, me coming over here and having a visit with Umberto and just walking down the street door to door and saying we're going to have a children's class of Baha'i faith. Or did I might get off page with this?
You know, you bring up a good point.
No,
because,
you're right. Yeah.
in previous sections, you know, it talked about service, it talked about the cause of God. And in this passage, Baha'i-inspired educational material. So this is where I believe it's important to really understand what really is the cause of God for this day. The learning outcomes, of course, is going to be based upon what we expect, what that service to that effort is going to be. And if we're dealing with Baha'i-inspired educational material, it's all predicated on that. So the cause of God, is it to get believers? Or is it to do service to humanity and build the kingdom of God on earth? And of course, the outcomes would follow as a result, in my opinion.
Well, being totally unfamiliar with teaching children youth classes, I have used Baha'i materials to help spread the word. Recent case was talking about how a government needs to use compromise, consultation to solve issues and problems. And I found a delightful video on YouTube put out by the Baha'is on what it means to offer compromise, consultation, deliberation, and then achieve what you want. I think that's exactly, what it would apply to the kids as well, I mean, if you're in the playground and you're talking to kids and somebody took the ball and ran home with it, that's not compromise, that's not sharing, that's, I don't know, I'm a little with Sean here, I don't really relate to the youth thing, but I know I should. But I think we all learn, whether we're 50 years old or 10 years old, in much the
Well,
same way.
I can see for me, I shouldn't say it's a difficulty. I mean, you can't force somebody, or nor do you want to force somebody. Everybody has their own belief, and I've even talked even with own family members and friends, and struck curiosity. I got curiosity happening,
Sure.
and it's like, wow, that's neat, that's cool. That sounds really nice, and that, hey, you want to come over? You want to come to a meeting?
Yeah.
But they'll never find the time.
Yeah.
And so it really doesn't. Maybe it's during the conversation they want to feel supportive. It seems positive for you in the conversation. They're just being supportive. Maybe their curiosity isn't as much as what I think it is, because when it's just, I don't know. I mean, Mariela and I, we've tried speaking with people, and you're not going to hit a goal every time you talk to a person.
No, yet there's no reason not to try, that's
Right.
extend your thought.
Yeah, so.
And they talked about having to speak with, many, even junior youth before they found, some of them expressed interest,
Sure.
and only a subset of those actually showed up. So it does require talking to a lot of people and being, just having faith that connection will be established eventually.
Mariella, did you have something you wanted to share? And
Yeah.
then Christy.
I understand that, but this is one process. I want to try explain like you want to cook one cake. So cake has the process. Sometimes you have to wait the cake raise before go the oven. This is saying the process. You have the different ingredients through friendship, deep conversation, life, Baha'i life. We need to the Baha'i life, self-transformation. The rest coming, but we keep the patient. The rest coming. God put everything in your hands, but you have to be ready. Open the spiritual eyes when it's coming.
One must be ready to receive, and determining when that readiness is part of what our job is. It's a lot like selling.
But we don't always, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Christy had something to say, and then Deb.
I think perhaps Sean and I are kind of in the same boat, is that maybe neither of us have been personally involved in children's classes or youth classes, or we don't know anything what's in the curriculum. So, you don't have to explain, but just to let you know that we don't know what is being taught in the youth. So that may be where Sean is concerned that we're pushing the Baha'i faith. I don't know that we are, but I think not, but there's virtues that are taught that can be very non-specific to Baha'i faith. But is it purely the Baha'i faith that's being taught, or is it principles of Baha'i faith without having to be, you have to be a Baha'i, that sort of thing?
I think that takes us right back to the question. How does an adequate understanding of it help us in widening the scope of our conversations with parents, school administrators, teachers, and other members of the community? So that's the real question. How does knowing the material, so you've never taught children's classes, you don't know the material, how would it help you if you had that material and you did know it?
To talk about
That's the
people,
question.
to talk to people. Deb had something to say.
It's all right.
Okay.
Can I mention that, for instance, for the junior youth, the material really does span the gamut of something that talks about the Baha'u'llah and his message to these are the virtues, Baha'i quotes to just sort of talking about our spiritual, our need as human beings to be involved with service, maybe mentioning God, and that's it. Okay? So
Doing the service.
yeah, so huge wide array of materials that are available.
And so, go ahead.
I have a question for you. Since you have experience in order to find people who are interested in having their children. Of course, it's not children that are making this decision; it's parents too. So how would you approach them in terms of what is this? What are you trying to do? What's your intention? And what are we trying to convert people, or are we trying to offer a positive virtues that make that individual a good person?
Yeah, so I'm not an expert, and
Yeah,
I'm working on
yeah.
learning how to consolidate groups. But
Yeah.
I think it's really important to focus on, for the junior youth, that it's spiritual empowerment. But it's not about the Baha'i faith. It's about building a group of kids who can support each other and having a focus on the true meaning of life and getting away from the propaganda and the materialism, et cetera, and just learning, and thinking about what they want to contribute to the world. And it's not about teaching the faith.
Exactly. At Beirut's home, they have a coffee table with various cards on there. That's Baha'i instructive literature assets. I picked up a few, and one was a thank you for service. And had a lady bag my groceries. She's done it often at Kroger's over in Navarre Avenue. And as she ended, I said, "You do such great work," and I gave her that card. She says, "Thank you." So the next week I was in, and there's a Starbucks there, and of course I was having a coffee before I was doing my shopping. She was on break. She came over and sat next to me. She opened up her wallet. She said, "See this card? This is the one you gave me 2 weeks ago." That's the kind of power that resources from the Baha'i faith have when they're used judiciously, with love, with kindness, not trying to convert anybody, just to show a way. Now, if she identifies me with the Baha'i faith, that's great. She doesn't have to. The kindness was given to her. She has the word in her hand.
She has the word of God,
She has
because
the word of
there's a
God.
quote
That's
from
right.
the writings on the
And I think, now since then, I've given her the list of the golden rule, from the Hindus, the Baha'is, the Christians, the whole thing. And of course, on the card that I have, the Baha'i faith is mentioned first. She pointed that out to me. It's their number one,
Alphabetic.
So, teaching is, I don't think teaching is any different from this, when they're this age to this age, and that age to size, whatever. I think we all learn at our own rate. And there are people who have expertise in teaching young people.
Patience.
Thank God. Thank God.
I got 3 passages. This one was in Tablets of Baha'u'llah.
Mhm.
The great being saith, O ye children of men, the fundamental purpose animating the faith of God and his religion is to safeguard the interests and promote the unity of the human race, and to foster the spirit of love and fellowship amongst men. Matthew, Christ says that he has come so that men may have life and have it abundantly. And then another passage, this wronged one, rid of all attachment to the world, has striven with utmost endeavor to quench the fire of animosity and hatred, which burneth fiercely in the hearts of the people of the earth. It behooveth every just and fair-minded person to render thanks unto God, exalted be his glory, and to arise to promote this preeminent cause, that fire may turn into light and hatred may give way to fellowship and love. So I'm thinking that with Jennifer's children's classes, rather than teach the Baha'i faith, how do you foster love and humanity and humility in your actions so that you can literally create the kingdom of God on earth?
Starting with the virtues.
So, getting back into Baha'i-inspired educational material, and if you were going to talk to parents, school administrators, teachers, and other members of the community, what is the expected outcome of the classes? And it all gets back down to, what is the cause of God?
It's the cause of God for today. Right.